On a cold, rainy afternoon in London, a millionaire named Edward walks down the street. He was clueless about the direction, just wondering, lost in thought, umbrella clutched tight. He's just left a disastrous board meeting. Millions on the line, pride wounded, mind racing. He almost walks past her. A young street musician standing under a flickering lamp playing a soft, soulful tune on an old violin. Her music is raw, pure, the kind that stops you without reason. Something in that melody pulls him in. He stops, he listens. He stares. What happens next will change his life forever. Edward steps closer to the musician. A young woman named Clara plays with closed eyes. Her violin is scratched, her clothes simple, but her face is peaceful. Edward drops a coin into her case, a quick, polite gesture. But Clara suddenly stops mid-note. She looks up and says softly, "Wait, don't go yet." Edward blinks, surprised. He isn't used to people stopping him. He said, "Why did you stop playing?" Clara replies, "Because you didn't really listen." "You only heard." Edward frowns and said, "I did listen, it was just music." Clara smiles gently and said, "No, mister, music is life's whisper. You have to feel it." He pauses. The rain taps against his umbrella. Their eyes meet. What she plays next will change everything. Edward sits on the wet bench as Clara begins again. This time the music feels different, softer, warmer. Clara, while playing, noticed that Edward was listening at first, but suddenly was lost in his thought. She asked, "Are you okay, mister? Something on your mind?" Edward, lost in his thought, did not really bother to reply, just nodded and said no. Clara sat beside her hand on Edward's shoulder and said, "I am Clara. What's your name?" Edward, uninterestingly, looked at Clara and said, "I am Edward." Clara, politely but some kind of firmness in her voice, said, "Edward, you can tell me whatever it is. I will not judge, but you know you will feel light. I promise." Edward looked at Clara and blurts out suddenly, "My business is falling apart. My life's a mess. I have money, but no peace. I thought success was everything. But now I feel empty." Clara listens quietly and then said, "Edward, when was the last time you felt joy? Not the bought joy, but real joy?" Edward stares into the rain, struggling to remember. He can't. Clara nods and says, "Then tonight, you'll get one chance." If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the Brightside Stories for more tales like this one. Clara hands him the violin. "I'll teach you one song. But you can't pay me with money." Edward chuckles and says, "Then how shall I pay you?" "You'll pay me with truth. Tell me your greatest fear." He hesitates, confused, intrigued. Finally, he nods and says, "Okay." She places the violin in his trembling hands and says, "Close your eyes. Let the rain keep the rhythm." He pulls the bow across the strings, clumsy at first. Then something strange happens. The noise of the city fades away. No rain, no deadlines, no pressure. Just sound and silence and peace. He feels weightless, free, alive. Tears roll down his cheeks. Clara asks, "Why are you crying?" "Because, for the first time, I feel alive." She smiles gently and says, "That's the secret." Edward wants to play again, to feel that moment once more. But he presses too hard this time and snap. The violin cracks. Strings curl. Silence. "Oh no, I broke it." "I am so sorry, Clara. I'll buy you a new one, I promise." Clara looks at the broken violin, then at him. "It's okay. That violin was old. I'm glad it helped you find peace. It's done its job. Let it go." Edward stares at her, speechless. He sits back down, soaked, helpless, yet oddly calm. As dawn begins to rise, Clara returns, carrying another violin. She hands it to him. "Here, finish what you started." Edward, surprised, and said, "You had another one? Then why were you playing the old one?" "It was my father's. He taught me to play. He used to say, 'Play for your soul, and you'll touch others too.'" Edward nods and begins to play again, slow, unsure, but sincere. This time he doesn't think, he just feels. The music flows. The street quiets. People stop to listen. Some drop coins, others just close their eyes. When the last note fades, Clara smiles and says, "Now, as promised, tell me your truest fear." Edward is silent for a long moment. His life flashes in his mind like passing trains. Then softly he says, "I've spent my life trying to control everything. I was terrified of losing my money, my fame, my success. But in the process, I lost myself. Clara touches his shoulder and says, "Then stop controlling. Let life breathe through you." Edward closes his eyes. He listens to the rain, the city, the calm inside. Something shifts. The ache eases. The noise quiets. Clara's voice breaks the silence. Success isn't what you earn. It's not when people think you've made it. Real success is inner peace, the journey itself. Success can never be a destination. Edward opens his eyes, changed. He takes out his wallet, offering her money, and more than that, a promise. He says, "I'll help you. I'll invest in your music." Not charity, partnership. Clara shakes her head gently and says, "No, Edward. I don't play for money or fame or applause." He looks at her, puzzled. "Why?" She smiles softly, eyes glowing under the streetlight. She says, "I play for my own happiness. Some listen, some don't. It doesn't matter. If I play for others, I'll stop hearing my heart." Once that happens, the music dies. Her words pierce the silence between them. He realizes she has everything he's been searching for. The rain eases. The sky lightens. Edward places a small note beside the broken violin. "Thank you for the music." He walks away. Lighter, freer, alive. Edward walked into the rain lost and empty. He walked away with music in his heart. Clara had nothing, yet she gave him everything. True happiness isn't what you own, it's what you feel, what you share, and how you live. If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share the bright side stories. Thank you for watching. May your own melody find you.